one day we will all be criminals. We'll all be guilty of some crime or another, whether it be like a tax law, a zoning bylaw, a traffic law, like any number of things, like, maybe even like a child endangerment law, maybe I don't know, could be anything. Like with the amount of the amount of government creep that seems to be happening nowadays, anything seems possible. Like something that I heard about a little while ago. Oh, I guess I should have looked up what state this was in, but this is kind of off the cuff here, but I think it was Nevada. No, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Either way, but what it was is that there was a couple that have a medical marijuana card from the state that says that they are entitled to medical marijuana. However, the state's child endangerment law is written in such a way where if children are in a house where people are using a controlled substance, it's considered child abuse. So what happened is that some cops came out, checked out everything, agreed that no crime was being committed, but they still had to report it to child services. Child services came and took the children away because, according to the law, they were child abusers. And just things like that, like, it seems that they're always trying to link one law to another. Like they're trying to say that, if you flash somebody in the park, that makes you a sex offender, and now because you're a sex offender, you can't live in this part of town, or you can't live in this town altogether, or even if a sex offender happens to steal your wallet and use your name as an alias, they have to keep that alias on file just in case that criminal ever decides to use it again. So for the rest of your life, you are continually, checked over by the government. And a lot of people might just say, "Oh, well, if you're doing nothing wrong, don't worry about it." And to those people, I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, let me go into your house right now and install a bunch of cameras and record everything you're doing. If you're doing nothing wrong, what are you worried about? Like, I'll show you all the video and everything. Like, I'll make sure that I'll put it on the internet for everybody to see. And what's wrong with that? What? Like, you have nothing you want to hide. Like you have nothing. Like you have no. Like I can't understand people with a mindset like that. Like, why don't they just open their doors and just say, "Hey, officer, why don't you just come in and check my house over?" Like, "Oh, well, maybe you can measure the sink to make sure that it's the correct number of inches away from the floor, so I can meet the American Disabilities Act," or check over to make sure I'm totally in compliance with the building code, and if I'm not, I'll gladly pay the fine. Like, there's probably so many things. Like I think I remember hearing about a book that was written by somebody that was speculating that the average American commits 10 felonies a day. And I would almost believe it, because some of the ways, like some of the ways the laws are written so broadly, like it's getting crazy. Like I know that where I am, like Ontario, Canada, like they're starting to pass some really crazy driving laws. Like they just passed a law where if you're 21 years of age or under and you have any blood alcohol level, like even 0.01, like even the lowest amount the tester can detect, if you have that much in you and you're driving, you get your license taken away. It's a fine. Like it's a whole big deal. And the moment you're over, like the moment you're over 21, you can have up to point 0.8 or 0.08. Like which, so like what, like overnight magically, like everything's better. Like you're just a better driver when you have a little bit of alcohol in you. Like it's I guess it's a small step until the point where they're gonna pass a law. Well, like it's already that way for people under 21. Now let's make it so everybody, no matter how old you are, if you have any alcohol in you, you get like a 12-hour suspension. And then a couple years later, they'll turn it into a 1 week suspension with like $1,000 fine or something. And once it gets to that point, like how many more laws do they have to pass before basically alcohol is prohibited? Like before prohibition's back. Like Mothers Against Drunk Drivers seems to be going crazy for that. Like they're not going to rest until alcohol is basically banned again. Which I guess it's almost like evolution in some way, because they were originally created to help raise awareness for drunk driving. And I think a lot of people now have awareness for drunk driving. So their original purpose isn't really needed anymore, but they don't want to just die, so they have to evolve, they have to change, and so they're going for a larger target. They're going for alcohol in general. And I guess the thing is that like even if they took out alcohol completely, I'm sure even then they would have to move on to something else. Like in some fantasy world, if they managed to actually pull that off, they would have to evolve and to go after, I don't know, like maybe everything. Like maybe they have to start going to people who like start taking cough medicine, you know, or people who like like they like they're not just going to disappear. And that seems to be the problem with all of these like organizations and laws and things that politicians might put in with good meaning. It's just that once they're there, they never want to go away. And even when the reason that they're there for doesn't even exist, the law is still there, and it still wants to be in like it just like it almost seems like laws should have to expire. Like it seems like everything should have to expire. Like when every government agency or anything, like whenever anything is founded, there should be a date on which if action is not taken to renew it, it expires. I don't know if that would help or not. Like maybe somebody would just figure out a way of just screwing around with that and getting their own way. I don't know, but because it just seems like once something is like once you start subsidizing a company or something for some reason, if you ever take it away, that's considered a hardship. If you start giving tax breaks, if you ever don't give somebody a tax break and just have them pay the normal rate, all of a sudden that's a hardship. Like you have to, it becomes a thing that you did to help out to then like required and mandatory, until you get to the point where it's like like people like some cities and stuff like that are like bending over backwards for certain things, like some governments like like to help keep businesses happy. And then of course then the whole meltdown happened because I guess the government was trying to keep standoffish and keep everything happy and just oh, I don't know. But yeah, I guess your rant got me ranting too, which isn't too bad. But I'm really hoping YouTube doesn't cut me off this time, because I remember last time I was leaving a reply to somebody and it cut me off like a minute before the end. So I may just have to ramble on here for a little bit just to make sure that if it does cut me off, it's not going to cut off anything all that important or anything really pertinent to my point. So anyway, catch you later. Bye.